Taking an unconventional road trip to the United States seems like an odd objective, especially considering the destinations in mind. One, an amusement park themed to Hershey's absolute cornerstone candy business. 2, a museum dedicated to all things fun about play. This trip proves that the scale of travel matters not if the destinations soar above the expectations of everyday life. So let's dive into what this trip to Rochester, New York and Hershey, Pennsylvania means to a Canadian family looking to spend a long weekend away. Across Lake Ontario reveals to be some of the most fun and different attractions we've seen before. So join us on our adventure to see what's in store for us at these wonderful destinations. On the first day of our trip, we started with a 3-hour drive around Lake Ontario towards Rochester, New York. From Toronto, we passed around the lake to some nice scenery before arriving in New York State itself. Rochester's red brick architecture really stood out to me and was a great starting destination for our adventure. We had dinner at the Nerdvana restaurant in the city center where before our food arrived, we played games on the booth's screen. We played Mario Kart and I was winning for most of the race until a blue shell hit me over and over again. Each race was pretty close, but I emerged victorious. Nonetheless, I'd say we had a great time overall to start off our trip. After finishing my roasted chicken with overly vinegar-drenched artichokes, we explored the downtown area and wanted to see the High Falls itself. Through the general cityscapes, the nightlife was definitely bustling until about 9 PM when things calmed down a bit. The High Falls historic site was actually quite a beautiful thing to see, although I expected the falls themselves to be a lot higher given the name. The attraction still serves as a nice point to cap off our evening. A short drive back to the hotel to rest for tomorrow's wonderful events. On our way back, I did see these red, white, and blue candies from all sorts of brands, and it wasn't even Independence Day, but I guess they're just proud to be American. Day 2 starts with our short drive across into the city once again, where we walked the nearby parks. We were planning on exploring the National Museum of Play, but it wasn't quite open yet, so we need to take this quick walk. The parks itself are beautiful, but it is important that we understand the murals and monuments and the significance behind them. As a crucial part of Rochester and American history, it's important that we take the time to remember the losses of the American Civil War and those figures who died fighting in it. Moving into our main attraction is the Strong National Museum of Play. This museum features so many moving parts for all ages. An aquarium for various fish species with plaques so that everyone can learn about them was pretty fun and a great starting point to the museum's collections. Following that, I found one of the cabinets for the original Pong as well as a play area to teach people about physics, sound, and the transfer of energy. It may seem like I'm being dramatic, but this room was tilted so bad that it was genuinely difficult to walk in. Next was the history of Sesame Street, one of the world's most influential television shows, not just for entertainment but for its activism and themes of inclusion. The next section included arcade machines dedicated to racing, a steam train for the kids to ride on all around this kids' play area, as well as a big open space leading into multiple sections including unconventional literature such as comic book superheroes. If we couldn't shake things up enough, we have a whole room dedicated to the founding of pinball machines. The one I tried the most was the Indiana Jones machine with Indy's classic revolver as the pull mechanism, which I thought was a neat touch. So many of these machines are so intricate that you could sink hours into them, with details according to their source material. It's no wonder this place is so big. Also in the superhero area I took this photo, but in reality it's a Spider-Man optical illusion. Just outside was the Hasbro Games Play Park featuring giant games based on these original board versions, although one in particular was scarier than the rest. On the second floor was the Toy Hall of Fame, featuring historic creators and eventually a section all about the history of board games, how they've entertained people for generations before the technology revolution. This collection was quite extensive and truly a joy to explore. We even got to play Big Battleship, but as you can see I was not doing very well. The collection even featured a whole section for video game consoles spanning many companies and decades of gaming. Arcade cabinets people could use tokens and try for themselves, and a museum display for all these fantastic creations. To have a museum that even just a fraction of its displays are dedicated to gaming itself was definitely exciting for me. And this giant Donkey Kong cabinet was just the feather in the cap. But wait, there's more! The Video Game Hall of Fame featured more history segments and interactive games to play for everyone involved. With games as old as Pong and this comically large TV, to some of the more modern iterations that take inspiration from previous consoles. Indie games are really big right now, made by independent studios making revolutionary new titles. although it has featured this absolutely hellish creation. Also, Mario better than Sonic confirmed. After a nice local pizza lunch at an Italian restaurant, we started a 5-hour drive south to Pennsylvania through the grassy forests and rolling hills. On a cloudy day like this, there wasn't much in terms of scenery in the skies, but natural landscapes were quite lovely. Although as we moved closer towards Hershey, the more we realized we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Like Pittsburgh is farther west and Philadelphia is further east. This area is just kind of like a lot of nothing, unfortunately. After finishing a surprisingly okay meal at Ruby Tuesdays on a Saturday, we closed out the day. Day 3 was one my brother Marcus was looking forward to the most, as it was time for Hershey Park. I didn't think making an entire theme park around Chocolate Company was possible, but here we are. The inside of a gift store was everything you think about a gift store, but brought to an absolute extreme, although they had an attraction in here, which I had no idea what was gonna be like past those doors. I was just as confused as you are. The whole factory tour accompanied by music and animatronics was really just bizarre, like a dark Disney ride without any of the charm it had before. Like everything seemed so soulless. Back on track, we entered the park itself, and honestly the area looked pretty well put together. This whole Chocolate Town area is very charming in and of itself, and the first attraction was Candemonium, a fairly standard roller coaster that serves as the main front for its park. With its fun dives and curves, I can find any roller coaster enthusiast enjoying this one, especially my brother since he wouldn't stop talking about it. Walking further in the park starts to feel a bit more congested space-wise, even without the crazy crowds. Taking this slightly rickety if not life-threatening monorail, we can see behind each of the rides, the parks, the attractions, and whatnot, as well as the factory space where they actually make the Hershey chocolates next to the park. We even got to say hello to some ducks, but the worst was yet to come. It seemed like a pretty standard attraction at first, but it's truly wretched. Reese's Agent Blaster or something is a full hour wait that led to a horrible capacity dark shooter where I've seen better graphics on my Nintendo Wii. The blasters don't work well, the points don't make sense, and an overall damper on my spirit for sure after this whole ordeal. So not a great start for the park so far, but I'm sure it'll improve the more time we spend here. The next main coaster of note was Fahrenheit, and just by looking at it, you can tell an absolutely unhinged designer made this, and then an absolutely unhinged board member somehow approved it. If you look at this thing, it's like a thermometer that it would somehow drop steeper angle than just vertical. Just look at how it drops, it goes inward and down, which is absolutely insanity. Then, it follows up with these absolute crazy inversions while spinning. I'm sorry, who designed this ride? This is insane. At least my brother enjoyed it at the very least, so there's that. Next was the very busy water park that has similar capacity issues as the main section. Although some of the play structures and water slides are actually very well made, so there's that going for it. Some of them literally dump you into this giant bowl, and then you spin around the funnel. It's actually pretty fun, all things considered. The line for the Lazy River, however, was absolutely criminal. Yikes. To finish off was a water coaster with another extremely lengthy line, but the coaster dives while in a water tube was one of the potentially worth it parts of this park. The Ferris wheel I actually refused to get on due to its rickety nature and ominous safety information on the front. This last log flume ride though is absolutely insane with the waves that would put Canada's Wonderland's log flume ride to shame, so look at the size of this thing. The last coaster I want to talk about was the Jolly Rancher remix, and has the exact same ride structure as the Bat at Canada's Wonderland. Still probably a great ride though, and they have this weird scent thing when you go through, you smell Jolly Ranchers. We ended our day at the slow-moving train ride, and while there are many coasters I didn't feature in this video, it's honestly because this park feels so disjointed and generic to me. Thrill rides are scattered far apart, and non-thrill rides are state fair abominations, if I had to put it nicely, honestly. The overall experience for me was not very amusing, yet I can't bring myself to say I had a bad time. Having the privilege to travel in the first place and try new things is something I should be grateful for, not actively complain about. So while the park itself may seem somewhat lackluster, it's not every day you get to travel to a place like this. So it's important to look at the positives, like how my brother had an absolutely fantastic time as a thrill seeker he is. On day 4 we took the drive all the way back to Toronto once again, and I can't say enough how traveling no matter what the scale is fantastic to me. From the sights to the attractions, the people I get to spend valuable time with, it's these moments I'll cherish for years to come, and a beacon of light for what I hope to pursue years down the road. Even if I wasn't always having a legendary time, Hershey Park especially, it's the retrospective of it all that makes me so grateful to have opportunities like this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this video, and future videos I plan to create. Travel videos like this really do warm my heart, and to share it with the internet like this really is important to me. So once again, thank you, and I'll see you all very soon.